Okay, let's unpack this. We are looking at a setting today that feels incredibly familiar on the surface,
Oh, absolutely.
but the moment you scratch that surface, you realize the rules of the game have just completely changed. We're
Hmm.
talking about Manaheim Academy.
Right. It's a tabletop role-playing game, yes, but specifically one focused on students learning magic.
Hmm?
And I know what you're thinking. You're picturing wands, houses, maybe a hidden train platform.
Exactly. I'm thinking, skipping class to fight a troll in the dungeon. But the source material we have today, the Spellcasting and Progression Guide, it paints a very different picture.
It really does.
This isn't a power fantasy where you just memorize a list of spells and blast everything. In fact, reading through this, it feels less like a power fantasy and more like, I don't know, an anxiety simulator.
That is honestly the perfect way to describe it. If I had to boil this entire deep dive down to one sentence, it would be that Manaheim is an institution that values judgment over raw power.
Which is such a cool twist for a game, but it's also stressful. I mean, usually games are about, can I do this cool thing? But Manaheim seems to be asking, hey, just because you can, should you?
Precisely.
Yeah.
And we're going to explore how this system gamifies personal responsibility. We're looking at mechanics like energy, volatility, and my personal favorite, the gold star system.
I love the gold stars, and we will get there because it's surprisingly cutthroat.
It is.
But before we get to the rewards, we have to talk about how you learn magic here. Because in most games, D&D, video games, whatever, you level up, you pick Fireball from a menu, and now you know Fireball. You've unlocked it.
Right. It's a gatekeeping mechanic. You literally can't cast the spell until the game says you're high enough level. It's a safety rail.
Yeah.
Mannheim flips that completely. The source material is very clear. Knowledge is common.
Yeah, it says libraries exist, notes circulate, upperclassmen talk. So theoretically, a first-year student, someone who just walked in the door, could look up a world-ending spell in the library.
In theory, yes. And that is the trap. The document calls this concept knowledge is not permission.
I love that.
Just because you know the structure of a spell doesn't mean you have the authority or the ability to cast it safely.
That sounds terrifying. I mean, why would a game be designed that way? It feels like handing a loaded bazooka to a toddler.
Because it shifts the gameplay from unlocking abilities to managing risk. The system lets you attempt spells way above your pay grade. It's built for experimentation, curiosity, or just sheer desperation. But the game records the results impartially.
So if I try to cast a massive storm spell and I'm just a freshman, the game doesn't say, no, you can't. It says, okay, roll the dice, but this is going to hurt.
Exactly, and this is where the restraint mechanic comes in. You might ask, why wouldn't a student just nuke every problem? Well, a fireball might solve the immediate issue, locked door or whatever.
That it brings reputation damage
Right.
and faculty scrutiny. A fireball solves a problem now, but creates a whole new problem for later. Whereas a more subtle spell might take more work, but it keeps your record clean.
And that is the key takeaway for the philosophy here. The system rewards patterns of behavior, not just singular successes. You're role-playing a student who has to live in this community, not some murder hobo wandering through a dungeon.
So let's get into the nuts and bolts. How do you actually cast these things? Because the notes mention no spell slots, which is usually how these games balance everything.
No spell slots, no mana points in that video game sense where you have a bar that drains. Instead, every spell is defined by two numbers, energy and volatility.
Right.
And it's crucial to understand these are two totally different scales.
Okay, let's break them down. Energy is 1 through 9. That's the cost.
Yes, energy is the effort. Is how much the spell drains from you right now. Think of it like physical exertion. Lifting a heavy box might be energy 6.
And picking up a pencil is energy 1.
Exactly.
And volatility, that's ranked 1 to 5.
Volatility is the danger. It's the stability of the whole magical equation. So to continue the analogy, lifting a heavy box is high energy, but it's usually low volatility. You aren't likely to, explode if you drop the box.
But juggling knives.
Juggling knives, it takes very little energy. It's not heavy, but it has high volatility. If you mess up, there are blood and consequences.
That makes so much sense. So when I cast a spell, I have to go through a two-step process. First, can I afford it?
That's the cost check. And this is where being a good student really matters. You have a stat called school mastery. This is basically your skill level in that specific type of magic. The formula is simple. Energy cost of the spell minus your mastery.
Okay, let's play this out. Say I want to cast a huge level 5 spell. Costs 5 energy. That sounds exhausting.
For a novice, yes. If you have mastery 0, you pay the full 5 energy. That might knock you unconscious in game terms, but If you have Mastery 5,
Then 5 minus 5 is 0.
right,
It becomes free.
essentially, yes. It costs a minimum of 1 energy, usually, but the point is it becomes almost effortless. That's how the game illustrates mastery. It's not that the fireball is bigger, it's that you don't break a sweat casting it anymore.
I really like that. It rewards you for sticking with the subject. But then comes the scary part. Step 2.
The success check. You roll a 6-sided die and add your mastery, and you're trying to beat a difficulty number set by the volatility.
And looking at this volatility scale, it really sets the tone. Rank 1 is stable, a safe space. But rank 5,
Rank 5 is reckless. The source describes this as magic beyond a student's authority. If you fail a rank 5 spell, it's not just that the spell fizzles.
no,
Oh no.
it's worse.
You trigger a major institutional response.
That's what I find so interesting about the failure state. In D&D, if my spell fails, usually nothing happens. It just doesn't work. Here, failure isn't binary.
No. Failure means complications.
Mm-hmm.
And the severity of those complications is tied directly to the volatility. Fail a risky spell, you might get a lingering effect. Fail a dangerous one, you could cause lasting harm.
So the game is basically teaching you risk assessment. It's constantly asking, is this really worth the attention it's going to bring?
Which brings us to how you get better. We mentioned earlier, no grinding. I can't just go into the forest and kill 10 boars to get to level 2.
Right. If I kill 10 boars, I probably get detention.
Or expelled.
Mm.
No, progression is gated by 2 things, grades and gold stars.
I honestly thought gold stars was a joke when I first saw it. It feels so elementary school. Good job. Here's a sticker.
It does, it really does.
Yeah.
But it's the central currency of advancement. It's brilliant because it gamifies the social part. You don't get gold stars for dealing the most damage. You get them for creative problem solving, for avoiding property damage, and this is critical for accepting responsibility for your actions.
Wait, really? So if I mess up a spell, I break a window, and then I go to the professor and say, I did it, I'm sorry, I could mechanically get a reward for that.
Yes, because you're playing the genre.
Yeah.
You're playing a student learning ethics.
Mhm.
If you hide the evidence, you get nothing. If you own up to the mistake, you earn a gold star.
That is fascinating behavior modification. It forces you to stop acting like a video game protagonist who can just run away from all consequences. So what do I do with these stars?
You spend them. You can increase stats like creativity or empathy. You can improve your reputation grade, bump a C up to a B. But most importantly, they are a gate for advancement.
Right, looking at the chart here, to go from Mastery 1 to Mastery 2, I need a grade of C or better, A&D, I have to spend 3 gold stars.
Man, it scales up significantly. To get to Mastery 5, we're talking faculty level insight. You need an A grade and 10 gold stars.
So you literally cannot become a master wizard if you're failing your classes or acting like a delinquent.
Exactly. The system just won't let you. It creates such a distinct feel. You have to balance your social life, your study time, your adventuring. You have to be a student.
Speaking of being a student, let's dive into the curriculum. We have the schools of magic, there are 6 of them, and reading these descriptions, this is where the Wayne building just shines. The source doesn't just list spells, it explains the specific danger of each school.
This is my favorite part of the text. It frames magic not just as a tool, but as a hazard. Each school has a different philosophy of failure.
Let's start with abstract magic. This is manipulating systems, gravity, time.
The vibe here is that you aren't just shooting magic, you're editing reality source code. The key spell they mention is Causal Loop Fragment. It has a volatility of 5 reckless.
And this lets you create a time loop, right?
Yeah.
Repeat a moment to get a better outcome.
Yes, but look at the lesson attached to it. You don't break time, you bruise it.
I love that phrase, bruise it.
It implies that if you fail, the loop doesn't just stop, it destabilizes. You get memory inconsistencies, paradox residue. The danger isn't an explosion, it's that you've made reality glitchy.
So the failure state is just confusion. You don't even know what happened and what didn't.
Exactly. Failures in abstract magic propagate, they ripple out.
And we have artificial magic, binding magic into machines.
And here, the danger is longevity. There's a spell called Disposable Enchantment. It's supposed to be a one-use thing. It costs 5 energy, a lot of effort, but has low volatility.
But the twist is great. The text says, disposable is a design goal, not a promise.
If you fail, the enchantment doesn't fade. It leaves residue. It sticks around. The lesson is that bad decisions in artificial magic persist physically. You can't just walk away. You try to make a magical cup that disappears, and instead you made a cup that radiates magical waste for 100 years.
That's so good. It seemed like a good idea at the time, is literally written into the landscape. Now, biological magic, this one felt the most disturbing to me.
It is. Biological magic deals with healing, shape-shifting. But the danger here is about autonomy and memory. The example spell is pain suppression.
This one jumped out at me. Low energy cost only 2, but high volatility. Rank 4, dangerous. Why is numbing pain so dangerous? Isn't that what medicine does?
Medicine requires consent and monitoring. Magic is immediate. The text warns, danger does not equal effort. The lesson is that suppressing pain hides harm. If you cast this on someone and fail, they lose important bodily signals. They might injure themselves worse because they can't feel it.
Or they lose the memory of the trauma without actually processing it.
Exactly. The text says the danger here is the impact on autonomy. It's a violation of the self, even if you meant to heal. You're editing someone's body, get it wrong, and you rob them of their own experience.
Then we have elemental magic. Your classic fire, lightning, wind, usually the most straightforward stuff.
But again, with a Manaheim twist. The danger isn't just instability, it's momentum. Once released, elements don't negotiate.
The spell Silent Electromancy is the example here. It's invisible.
And that's why it's so dangerous. It's subtle. You're disrupting nerves or electronics. If you fail, that disruption jumps to unintended targets. The lesson is invisible magic can be worse. Just because it's not a giant fireball doesn't mean you haven't unleashed a force you can't control.
It's the gas leak metaphor. You can't see it, so you don't know what's killing you until it's too late.
Precisely.
Now, mental magic. This is the one that always causes arguments in my gaming group.
And rightly so. The source material is very firm on this. The danger here is plausible deniability. The target might never even know they were changed.
There's a spell called Truth Compulsion. Forces someone to be honest. Low effort, cost of 2, but volatility rank 4.
Dangerous. And think about why.
Because forcing the truth destroys trust.
Precisely. The text says reality is not altered, trust is. If you fail, the target realizes the violation. You haven't just failed a spell, you have shattered a relationship. It's a social nuke. You can never take that back.
It really emphasizes that magic has social costs, not just physical ones. And finally, supernatural magic, dealing with forces beyond the natural order.
This one is the scariest to me. The danger is misaligned agency. You're asking something else to do the work for you.
The spell Prayer Without Patron is the most chilling thing in the book. You call for help, but you don't specify who you're asking.
Volatility 5. Reckless. Because on a failure, something answers anyway.
Ugh, that gives me goosebumps.
Ambiguity invites opportunists. It creates a horror element. You open a door, but you didn't check who is standing on the other side. Now you owe a favor to something you don't understand.
So when we look at all these schools together, we start to see the synthesis of the system. You don't pick a class like Wizard at the start of the game.
No. Your class identity emerges from your choices. A student who focuses on abstract and mental magic dealing with time loops and memory edits feels fundamentally different from a student focusing on elemental and artificial magic.
Even if their stats are similar, their interaction with the world is totally different. And the Gold Star economy reinforces this because it encourages you to stick to what you're good at, right?
It does, but it also forces you to diversify your approach. The game is training the player to think like a responsible member of a dangerous profession. It constantly asks you to weigh the cost.
It really circles back to that core ethos we started with. The game isn't asking, can you cast this spell?
No. It asks, what are you willing to spend in energy? What are you willing to risk in volatility? And who are you becoming in terms of reputation?
It's interesting because usually limitations in games feel annoying. I ran out of mana, or I'm out of spell slots. But here, the limitations seem to be the whole point.
Limitations in Manaheim aren't there to restrict imagination. They are there to inspire creativity. If you can't just brute force a problem with a fireball because you're afraid of the rep damage, you have to get clever.
You have to use a lower volatility spell in a smarter way.
Or you have to actually talk to the NPC instead of mind controlling them.
Exactly.
Sometimes the best magic is no magic at all.
It effectively simulates the pressure of being a young person with way too much power. It's not just about fighting monsters, it's about surviving your own education.
And that is a story worth telling.
So here is the final thought I want to leave you with today. We've talked about how this system puts a price tag on your reputation and your safety every single time you cast a spell.
It makes every choice feel weighty.
Right. So, listener, imagine if you had access to this kind of world-bending magic, but every time you used it, you risked your reputation, your grades, or accidentally bruising time itself. Would you still be the person throwing fireballs? Or would you find a smarter, quieter way to solve your problems?
That is the ultimate test of character.
Thanks for diving deep with us into Manaheim Academy. Go check out your local library, but maybe don't read the forbidden tomes just yet.
At least not until you have the mastery for it.
See you next time.